When your own daughter looks you in the eye and tells you to die, what would you do? Would you scream? Would you cry? Or would you nod? Because that's exactly what I did. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. My name is Eleanor Whitmore. I'm 72 years old, and a week before my daughter's birthday, she gave me a request I couldn't ignore. It happened in the kitchen, late afternoon. The kind of quiet that feels heavier than noise. The clock was ticking too loud. My tea had gone cold. Claire stood in the doorway, perfect as always. Tailored coat, phone in hand, that same impatient look she's worn for years now. "Do you even realise," she said, not yelling, just tired, sharp, "how much of a burden you've become?" A burden. Funny word, isn't it? I looked at her. Really looked. This wasn't the little girl who used to cling to my arm during thunderstorms. This was Claire Whitmore, 38, corporate attorney, and a stranger. "I try not to be," I told her. And that's when she said it. Flat, cold, like she was commenting on the weather. "The best gift you could give me is if you just died." Silence. No dramatic music, no tears streaming down my face, just silence. Now let me ask you something. What would you expect a mother to do in that moment? Break down? Defend herself? Slap her? I didn't do any of that. I nodded, just once. Claire barely reacted. She exhaled, like she'd finally said something she'd been holding in for a long time. Then she turned and walked away, already scrolling through her phone, already done with me. And that was the moment everything became clear. I didn't follow her. I didn't call her back. Instead, I stood up slowly, walked into the other room, and closed the door behind me. There's an old phone on the desk, not the one Claire bought me, the other one, the one I kept, just in case. I picked it up, dialed a number I hadn't touched in years. It rang once, twice. Then a voice answered. I didn't explain. I didn't hesitate. I just said 2 words. "It's time." And when I hung up, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't sad. I was certain. Because if my daughter wanted my death, then I would give her something far more permanent. Cruelty doesn't appear overnight. It grows quietly where you're not looking. You think a moment like that comes out of nowhere? It doesn't. It builds, slowly, subtly, piece by piece, until one day, the person you raised looks at you like you're disposable. Claire wasn't always like this. When she was 10, her father died. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. One moment we were a family. The next it was just the 2 of us. And I made a decision. She would never feel that loss the way I did. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I sold jewellery my mother left me, skipped meals so she wouldn't have to. Every opportunity she had, every school, every program, every advantage came from something I gave up. And she noticed, at first. "Mum, you're the strongest person I know," she used to say. Funny how that changes. Fast forward 28 years, and strength becomes inconvenience. Claire became successful, very successful. Corporate law, long hours, big clients, bigger ego. And somewhere along the way, I stopped being her mother. I became a responsibility, then a problem. Conversations changed. They weren't about life anymore. They were about logistics. Did you take your medication? You forgot to pay this bill. You can't keep leaving things lying around. No warmth, no laughter, just management. And then the small things started. She stopped inviting me out, stopped introducing me to colleagues, stopped asking how I felt. But I noticed something else, something quieter. Claire started asking questions, not about me, about my house, about my savings, about documents. Do you have a will? She asked one evening, casually, like she was asking about the weather. I do, I said. You should probably update it, she replied. Things change. Things change. Yes, they do. A few days later, I overheard her on the phone. She didn't know I was in the hallway. I can't move forward with her still hanging over everything, she said, her voice low, controlled. It's just complicated. Complicated. That's what I've become. Not her mother. A complication. So I started watching more carefully, paying attention. And what I saw didn't feel like frustration anymore. It felt like planning. That night, I opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. Inside were old documents, photos, records, and something else. A number. The same number I called after she told me to die. 2 days later, a courier arrived at the door. Delivery for Eleanor Whitmore. I signed for it, closed the door, sat down. The envelope was thick, official. I opened it slowly, read the first page, then the second. And for the first time in a long while, I smiled. Because now, I knew exactly what my daughter had been trying to do. And more importantly, I knew exactly how to stop her. If someone wants you gone, the real question is, how far are they willing to go? Because once you start noticing the pattern, you can't unsee it. And I didn't. After that envelope arrived, everything Claire did felt different. Not louder, not more obvious, just clearer. She became impatient over nothing. A misplaced cup, a forgotten light, a doctor's appointment that ran 10 minutes late. Small things. But her reactions? Sharp, controlled, almost rehearsed. And then she started helping, more than usual. Let me handle your banking, she said one morning, already holding my checkbook. It's easier if everything's centralized. Easier for who? I let her take it. I smiled, nodded, played the part, confused, slower, harmless. Because the truth is, the moment you realize someone is underestimating you, you let them. That same week, I met with David Klein, 55, attorney, the man on the other end of that phone call. We didn't waste time. I want everything documented, I told him. Everything? He asked. Everything. And so we did. Financial records, account changes, transfers I didn't authorize, but didn't stop. Conversations, yes, even those. You'd be surprised what people say when they think you're no longer paying attention. We rewrote my will. Not just changed it, rebuilt it. Layer by layer, clause by clause, protections, conditions, oversight. Nothing left to chance. Meanwhile, Claire kept playing her role. But then something shifted. She became nicer. Suddenly, she was bringing me tea, asking how I slept, sitting beside me longer than necessary. If you didn't know better, you'd think she cared. But I did know better. Because kindness, when it comes with timing like that, isn't kindness. It's strategy. Then came the papers. Just some updates, she said lightly, placing them in front of me. Standard stuff. I glanced at them. Legal language. Dense. Intentional. I can explain it, she added quickly. Of course she could. I adjusted my glasses, let my hands tremble, just slightly. Oh, I don't know if I understand all this, I murmured. Her jaw tightened. Just sign where I marked. There it was. Not a request, a direction. I looked up at her, soft, uncertain. Then I smiled faintly. Maybe tomorrow, I said. A pause. A flicker of irritation in her eyes, gone just as quickly. Of course, she replied. But I saw it, and she knew I saw it. That night, I finalized everything. Every document, every safeguard. And then I prepared something else. A box. Simple. Neat. Labeled carefully. For Claire. Open on your birthday morning. I placed it exactly where she would find it, ran my fingers across the lid, and for a moment, I thought about the little girl she used to be. Then I let that thought go. Because what I was about to give her wasn't love. It was truth. And the next morning, everything would begin. The night before her birthday, my daughter slept peacefully. That's the strange thing about it. While everything was already in motion, while every piece had already been set into place, Claire slept. No suspicion, no hesitation, no idea what was waiting for her just a few steps away. And me? I didn't sleep at all. I sat in the living room, the lights off, listening to the quiet hum of the house I had lived in for over 30 years. Every corner of it held something. Memories, sacrifices, pieces of a life Claire no longer seemed to recognize. But this wasn't about memories anymore. This was about control. And for the first time in a long time, I had it. Just before sunrise, I stood up. No rush, no drama. I took one last look around, then picked up my coat and walked out the front door. Not running, not disappearing, leaving. A car was already waiting at the curb. Inside sat David Klein, and a woman Claire had never met, Marissa Cole, 46, licensed social worker. Everything had been arranged, legally, formally, irrevocably. Are you ready, Eleanor? David asked. I didn't hesitate. Yes. The door closed behind me, and just like that, I was gone. The next morning, Claire woke up late. Her birthday. No calls yet, no messages, just silence, and the house unusually still. Mum, she called out casually, walking into the kitchen. No answer. That's when she saw it. The box. Placed perfectly in the center of the table. Her name written clearly across the top. For Claire. Open on your birthday morning. At first, she frowned, confused, then mildly annoyed. Seriously, she muttered, setting her phone down. She sat, pulled the box closer, lifted the lid. Inside, a letter, a USB drive, a stack of official documents. Her expression didn't change immediately, not until she picked up the letter and started reading. Her eyes moved quickly at first, then slower. Then they stopped. What is this? She whispered. Her hand tightened slightly as she reached for the USB, plugged it into her laptop, clicked. The screen flickered, and then me, sitting exactly where she was now, calm, composed, looking directly into the camera. "Hello, Claire." She froze. "You asked for my death," I said evenly. "What you meant was control." Her breathing shifted. "You won't be getting either." The video continued, each sentence precise, measured, final. And then came the documents. Claire grabbed them quickly now, scanning, faster, sharper, panic beginning to creep in. Legal notices, trust structures, restrictions. Her face changed, colour drained. Because in that moment, Claire realised something she hadn't expected. She hadn't just lost me. She had lost everything she thought she was about to gain. So what actually happened? Let's make it clear, because nothing about what I did was emotional impulse. It was deliberate, legal, final. Every question Claire had that morning had an answer. The documents in that box weren't random. They were complete control, just not hers. First, the house. No longer in my name, no longer in hers to inherit freely. It had been transferred into a protected living trust, effective immediately. I retained full residency rights, but under supervision of a third-party legal administrator. Claire? No access, no authority. Then the finances. Every account she had been slowly positioning herself around, frozen, audited, and restructured. All assets were placed under managed oversight. And the inheritance? Still there, but now conditional. Claire would only receive anything if she completed a court-recognized behavioral evaluation, followed by a documented period of consistent, verified conduct, monitored by independent parties. In simple terms, she couldn't manipulate her way into it anymore. And then, the evidence. Because yes, there was evidence. Records of financial pressure, recorded conversations, witness statements from neighbours and care professionals, all submitted, all time-stamped. Not to destroy her, but to prevent her from ever pretending none of this happened. Claire didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She just sat there, staring at the screen, watching me again. "I didn't die, Claire," I told her in the video. "I just stopped being yours to control." That's when it hit her. Not grief, loss of control. The consequences came quickly. Professionally, questions started surfacing. Quiet at first, then louder. Legally, she was forced to respond to formal inquiries about financial conduct. Socially, distance grew. People notice patterns when they're written down clearly enough. And personally, silence. Because every attempt she made to reach me went through lawyers, not daughters. And me? I arrived at the care facility that same morning. Clean, quiet, structured, safe. For the first time in years, no tension in the walls, no sharp voices, no careful walking on eggshells, just space. A few weeks later, I received a letter from Claire, handwritten. No legal tone, no sharp edges, just uncertain. I didn't open it right away. I placed it in a drawer beside my bed, sat by the window, watched the light settle across the floor. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like a burden. I didn't feel like a complication. I felt finished with that version of my life. And whatever Claire chooses to become next, That's hers to carry. As for me, I gave my daughter exactly what she asked for. Not my death, but something far more permanent. My absence.